What's up?
What's going on, John? It's getting wild.
Yeah, I woke up late this morning, so I didn't get a chance to go through and do the normal routine to make sure it's looking good today.
Well, it looks good. It's just in time for hunting season.
Can you guys hear me? Andre here.
Yep, we can hear you.
Cool. I'm like I just got home, so I have my headphones in.
Okay. If you guys haven't seen, I posted the call brief today in the notes or the chat. Trying to think. I know a couple guys are out today, and so I'll wait a couple more seconds and then we'll get rolling. But
How's your trip, man?
it was good, man. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It was good. I haven't taken a trip like that long in like 2 or 3 years. So, but first week back is good. Sore as hell from not working out and then jumping in a leg day.
Yeah.
So
That's right. Did you feel strong at having not lifted anything for a couple of weeks?
well, you're assuming I feel strong most of the time, but no, I don't know. Things I started out with 8s and 10s, so didn't really get an opportunity. I felt like I moved well.
Yeah.
So that was good.
That's the most important part.
I'm actually so on my battle plan or my growth plan. I've always wanted to like get into martial arts, so I started Muay Thai, and I'm like a couple days into it, and my neck, because we spent all day just like kind of like reminded me of wrestling, like when you have your clenching.
Clench.
So it is just like, oh my God, I was clenching for like an hour yesterday. Just feel like I got rocked, or like after like 2 days in football where your neck is just like beat up. So, but it's good. But I'm excited to be back, and I always gauge a trip on if I feel ready to come home, then it was a good trip. So it was good. All right, well, I think we'll get started, and then I'm gonna start recording this. So, all right. So we're just gonna kind of go down the list here, but just to recap, can you guys see my screen or no?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go somewhere quieter.
You can see what I'm looking at right now, the call brief.
No.
I mean, I have it on. I have it on my phone.
Okay, I'm just gonna share my screen just so the people who watch this can actually follow along. Let me screen. All right. Now you can see it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we'll start out like Jay, I know you're on last time. John, you've been on this. So we're just going to start out with just real quick. And we're going into Q4. So I know it's already kind of a 2 weeks into October. And I know that last time the growth plan is obviously it's a full quarter of planning. We kind of started midway through the quarter. So that was almost like a 6-week plan. So if you haven't re-upped your plan, we're just kind of now going to scope out the next 3 months. So all those templates are in there. If you want to post it, I know some guys already posted it. I'm going to post mine up in the group just under the growth plan thing, and we can kind of go from there and hold each other accountable. But this quarter, and I just want whoever's watching this also in replays, we're going to be talking a lot about, I know when we first started, like the personal finance or business finance, or just kind of that financial freedom, that hot word. If there's guys out there that have like are strong suited in that, it'd be helpful to kind of be able to pick your brains. I'd like to maybe at some point have calls where guys can field questions or just kind of throw stuff out there. Cause I'm part of the survey I'm going to be throwing out and talking about later is I want to kind of see what things people were, and I don't really need to know any personal situations, but like where people find themselves struggling at. That way we can kind of use our resources to see, okay, how can we find a baseline and then move forward? Because I know a lot of us are at different stages with our business and our own ages and kind of where we're at with things. So that's Q4 is kind of focusing on that, with the idea that we go into 2020, obviously having a plan for where we're kind of setting ourselves up, whether that's our business or our personal, because I do believe that allows us to take opportunities that we can, like for instance, I moved back to Ohio, took a huge pay cut, but I was able to work on other aspects of my life, like move closer to home, do this and that. So I do think that a lot of it can come back to that. So just if there's guys out there that want to chime in, hit me up, shoot me a text, and we can try and figure that out. Because, obviously I'm not a huge pro at this, but I have something to offer, but I do think a lot of you guys do too. So, growth plans. So we're just going to is there, it's one thing keeping you up. One win from last week. And then we're going to kind of extrapolate on that and kind of look at the last, those guys that have been doing it for the past month. When we look at the after action review, we're going to kind of go a little more into what you're going to change going forward into the next step. So anybody want to rock with that first?
I'll go.
All right.
Yeah. So I've actually been pretty bad about filling out my growth plan over the last couple of weeks. It's been like really fucking busy. So I've honestly just not been abiding by the rules. But the good thing is I kind of have systems set into place now from the first few weeks where I'm kind of methodically doing everything I need to do at least on.
Can you guys hear him?
No.
Andre, we lost your audio.
Onto the wayside has been my contribution. Like I haven't really done anything at all for that. And that really has just come down to it being like, all right, I'm one of my coaches who was doing the majority of my evening classes. He's in firefighter training now. So I'm now opening the gym and closing the gym a few days out of the week. So I've pretty much just been focusing on surviving and sleeping and haven't really done anything to contribute to society aside from what I'm doing in terms of giving general fitness out. But the main thing that I've kind of changed on my contribution is doing stuff that I know is a little bit more easily accessible. My main goal for the contribution side was to get my youth group back up and running again. And that's just been a struggle. I've reached out to a couple of youth groups. I've even reached out to a couple of churches. I just haven't really gotten any traction there. So what I've done is I've just been a lot more active on my social media in terms of, answering questions that people might have. And then even people that, might comment or ask me questions, I'm just going a lot more in depth instead of giving them just like little run of the mill answers. And even, opening myself up and say, hey, if you ever have any questions, if you're interested in some like online mentoring, just shoot me a question whenever you have it. So just trying to contribute wherever I can without it necessarily being this big formalized program. Not too much really keeping me up at night aside from my wife. She's just had, it's busy season for both of us. So we've both been working crazy late hours. So we just haven't really been able to spend a whole lot of time together. And that is kind of a stressful-ish thing when there's literally nothing I can do to take burden off of my wife's plate, even if I happen to be, chilling at night and she's just plugging away on her laptop until, 9-10 o'clock at night. So that's really it. But other than that, everything is hunky-dory-ish.
Cool. Yeah, you should, have you thought about, so my brother is like also kind of that same contribution thing. He has the same goals. But I was thinking, so you'd be kind of good to connect with him, just see what he's doing. But I think for you have a shitload of members at 150. Like why not just like email and be like, hey, I'm looking to, give back. If you know of any organizations that are looking for something, let me know, I'm sure there's
I definitely
people
should.
that know people. So
yeah, that's a really good idea. One of my members has this organization called JC, Jersey City Families. So she probably has some connects with some kids. It's really just been a matter of prioritization and doing like what is going to make my business more lucrative and allow me to sleep. So I just haven't been super focused on that side, but that is a very good idea.
yeah. All right. Anybody else?
I'll go. So as far as what's been keeping me up at night, I know a few weeks back I was talking about how I had that job interview and waiting to hear back from that. Didn't go so hot, didn't get the job, so still searching for the new job to get out of the one I'm in right now. So stress of trying to find a new job is, that comes with it. Outside of that, recently I feel like I've been working on a lot and just had a lot of different projects and goals. that I've been trying to achieve. So it kind of feels like I'm being pulled in 20 different directions and trying to hold on to everything by, a shoestring. So trying to get that organized and figured out has been tough. But in that, some awesome opportunities have presented themselves, and we've made some changes at the gym I coach at, and I am now taking over doing all of our programming for our strength classes and just general strength for the gym and people walking in. So I'm excited about that and where that can go and the opportunities that presents. But yeah, along with that and other stuff, just being pulled in a million different directions. But then, like Andre, I've been kind of struggling with my growth plan and keeping up and tracking on it. But it has helped me, at least over the past few weeks, be more aware of what it is I'm trying to work towards and achieve. So other than that, though, all good.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it definitely can be. And I mean, I want to back up. Like, so I obviously also struggle, like over the past 2.5 weeks, I haven't been doing my growth plan basically at all. So I think like and this is something that after action that I'm looking at, I've done it now for like, 2 cycles, and understanding like logging it is just like when you log food, it's a win, but becoming more aware of what's happening. So like John, in your situation, maybe really sitting down and focusing on like maybe a plan for you is to get 80 to 100% on your growth plan, because that can help you structure the goals that you are looking at, right? Like you might have a bunch of goals, but when you break it down, maybe they all come back to 4 main ones. And then you just got to kind of like stay laser focused on those couple things instead of getting distracted by all this other shit moving around, or prioritize. So I think that, taking that growth plan to that next level and just really sitting down on it could help. I know that that's my biggest issue is I try to do too much at times. So that can be helpful.
Yeah, it all makes sense.
All right. Well, I guess I'll go real quick. Keep me up at night. I think generally I feel pretty good. I think just understanding it. So obviously you guys know I moved, so I'm trying to just get the business to where it's going. It's a slow process, but it's growing. So I have to understand that it's working, but I'm not a patient person. So being able to do that. One win so how I'm doing that is I have to get back on my plan. Cause obviously through that, win from last week. Over the vacation, Sarah and I like had some good conversations, and I feel like I dove better into my self quadrant, so that was good. And that's about it. I think troubleshooting for me, I just got to do the shit I'm putting forward, so just kind of doing it. So.
What are you trying to do in terms of 513 barbell?
Hi, Liz.
Like, where are you at with that?
So 513. So it kind of goes back to what John said. I had so much I wanted to do. So 513 barbell, when I look at the business and I look at what's the thing that's making the most amount of money, where my time spent is that's obviously making the most, and it's not 513 barbell. So 513 barbell is obviously like just the Cincinnati branch of JT Fit weightlifting, which is like the bigger thing. So what I'm doing with that is like what I'm doing is I'm moving the people, because I had a couple people sign up for memberships. I'm just moving them into our semi-private model, and they just train under that. So lucratively wise, it's more money payoff, and they get a better service, and it's not that much higher. And then I'm able to bring new people into those classes and not be so like pigeonholed to just weightlifting. So that's kind of it. So I think I kind of now just like blended it back into my general either private or semi-private models. And then I do have like a fitness class in the morning, kind of just like how I would train like my functional stuff, and that's in the morning. So, and then obviously the J2 weightlifting, we have the Union Square stuff, and then all the online stuff is bigger. So I guess I'm kind of like smushing it back together, if that makes sense.
Are you seeing you're getting more online traction since you've been interviewing important people like Jay and Marcus Philly?
Well, Well, Jay's a superstar. Jay was the highest listened to podcast thus far. So he's given Marcus a
probably-
run for his money.
It probably helps having two gyms that know me very well with high number of members
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
to download it.
Yeah. It was so I think that's still probably pretty new in terms of like the online, like getting that traction going. But I have noticed like little things. We've had a pretty good uptick of like clientele in New York City, like coming out to us. So I don't know. I mean, that's just all organic. So I'm not quite sure where that's coming from. I'm sure all that stuff works into it somehow. So
Gotta be
I think
the
just kind
swag.
of, what's that?
Gotta be the swag people see.
Swag. That might be it right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those
So we'll
Barbell
see.
CEO shirts.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's
I've been wearing
It's a
that
good
every
shirt.
day.
It's a good shirt. I like it.
that's good to hear. Yeah.
Every
man.
day. It's clean, rather. Not every day.
I'll just
Yes,
have to
no,
mail
sure.
out like 10 to everyone. And you can just open your closet and have one. We'll see.
I would
It's
do
gonna-
that.
Yeah.
I either wear pretty much all the clothing I own is free shit. I don't like buy anything. As you can see, I'm wearing a Larong shirt right now. It's all 150 Bay CrossFit Larong. And then I have a couple of Barbell CEO shirts and a Circle of Strength shirt. That's like all
Word
my
up.
whole attire. Everything else is from Walmart.
Thrifty. All right.
Yeah, bro.
Anything else from you guys before we move on?
I mean, I guess I'm the only one who didn't go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Um,
Did you write up your program yet for CIA operatives to get them fit?
Yeah. No. So I'm still new to this, so I gotta be. I think for me, what'll help with the growth plan is actually printing it out. Because as much as I use my computer, I'm not good at like doing like journaling type of work on it. I have like a number of physical notebooks that I use for different things that tend to be more productive for me. So actually, pen and paper I think will be helpful, and then I find it easier to just take it out and write stuff down, especially as it comes to mind. This is the kind of shit I hate doing. Like write down your goals, write down all this stuff. But it's also probably why I'm stuck, and should be doing more of it. This is like a really busy time for me right now, just with everything with the gym, and then with everything I do with the training plan. The open is always just like a hectic time of year, and we're trying to do as much content as we can, but it's a pretty lean staff that we have, and I'm the only person based in the United States, so timing is almost never convenient. But I really think that this Q4 I should set the goal to have like a solid plan in place as far as a growth plan. Some of that stuff that was discussed on last week's call. And then one thing keeping me up at night is just my general poor sleep habits keep me up at night quite often. Just not a good person at managing stress and anxiety. It's always something I've struggled with. Never been good at sleeping. And yeah, so I guess that's that.
Okay.
The new war in Syria, that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, that's fun.
That's awesome. That's great. But things are happening now. Like honestly, everything needs to go to complete shit before all the people who are still in Trump's corner are like, oh yeah, maybe we should stop. Like the economy needs to go to complete trash, and then there needs to be like 5 more wars. And I mean, they now have at least enough evidence to do impeachment. Whether the Senate decides to back it or not, it's going to be up to good old Mitch the bitch.
Well, I'd like things not to go to total shit. But
Yeah.
Me neither. But honestly, like I think that's what it's going to take to get a lot of those crazy strongholders to stop supporting. But we can talk about that another time. At least, did you see 2 Ukrainian dudes? Giuliani's buddies got arrested today.
yeah, those were the guys that were they were his Ukrainian clients. So
Yeah.
not shocking at all. But
No. So it's just fun. The everything he touches dies. So it's fun. It's fun. It's good to be a part of the ride.
Word. Hey, I
Before we go on, Jay, can we talk about how much you hated the book?
Oh my God.
Well, here, I want to back up. I'm happy you said that because, like, so some of these books, like, obviously, like, all the books I feel offer some value, but some of them I don't believe in. Not the ones we haven't read yet, but some of these ones that are coming up, or maybe just aren't. I think maybe it depends on where you're at in your progress. But I'm happy that you said that because I do think that, well, I guess, do you want to elaborate and I'll see if I agree?
Yeah, I mean, so where do I start? I mean, from just a literary standpoint, there was no plot.
Yeah, it's definitely, well, it was written in like the 1800s, yeah.
Yeah, but you could read Socrates through translation, and it's a little bit.
That's true.
Shakespeare was written before that shit, Mike.
I have Voltaire's, philosophical dictionaries, and he's a pretty good writer, translated from, medieval French. So it was a plotless book. It was just like trite, and the whole. I mean, the some of the underlying themes to me automatically are going to be triggering as well. This is nonsense. Like the fact that it's based, there's very religious undertones, which, not a fan of. Obviously, then alchemy, obviously nonsense as well.
Yeah.
So, but even taking that aside, the whole idea, if it's meant to be like this motivating book, the whole idea that God has a plan for you is a dumb way of, kind of motivating people to do anything, because then, are people supposed to read omens somehow? And then the idea that so I didn't like the book the whole way, but then in the end, when the treasure was actually a physical treasure, I was like, this is the worst ending to the book. It's not like, lessons learned and journeys traveled and people met and I've grown as a person. No, he still got a physical treasure. You had to waste so much of your life doing shit that you didn't have to do to then actually have a physical treasure. Like, it was dumb. It was really bad.
Yeah, I guess I didn't look into the ending like that, but I do agree with. I think that a lot of people, and depending on where your background is, like I think obviously like things happen, and maybe it's just outside your control. But I think a lot of it was almost like there's a plan, and you got to recognize it, versus you got to make your own shit happen. And that's kind of where I took it.
It reminds me of just like an older version of that book, The Secret, which is also nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, put it out into the universe and it'll happen for you. I mean, obviously I have a much more like deterministic worldview, and I do think that we make our own luck, but there's not like fate or some design for what you're supposed to be doing. You need to figure it out on your own. And the whole kind of driving influence was that he had a plan predetermined by some, higher power. Yeah. And for whatever reason, the higher power decided to be super cagey about it and make him waste a bunch of his life to then get him a few pieces of gold.
Yeah.
And he was richer, not for the experience, but richer because he was actually just richer at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the message was dumb. The takeaway was dumb. The plot was dumb, but it was short, so I made it.
There's a win. No,
yeah,
cool.
I mean,
I'm happy you're sharing that, because was that on there?
Yeah, I thought, like, I think it's like a cool book if you're like a young person, I guess. Like, I understand why people would find it appealing. Like, I feel like if you're a younger person who, like, I don't know, doesn't know what you want to do with your life and feel like you need some sort of external something to get you where you're.
Yeah. Froze up, bro.
Again.
Well, all right, we lost him. No, I get what he's saying, and I agree with it. It's cool because obviously when you like, it was a book that I read a long time ago. I was like, oh, this makes sense. Yeah, and we lost you. You want to start that over?
Oh, can you hear me now?
Good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, better.
You were frozen.
Yeah, my internet connection apparently is bad for some reason. But yeah, for me, I can understand the value of it for like the appeal of it to certain people. Maybe if you're like a younger person and you're not exactly sure what you need to do or should do, and you need some kind of something external to give you a little bit of motivation.
This is tough, Andre.
Yeah. We lost you. All right. I get what he's saying, though. He's basically saying he's awesome.
I'm paying corporate job to go and do something. I'm going to fucking do it. I don't need a sign from anyone to do that. So,
Cool.
Yeah. But I understand the appeal of it to certain folks. But, yeah, what wasn't my favorite book either.
No, well, I'm happy because I kind of wanted to throw things in there that might be like, just to see where everyone's at. And that being said, like, obviously we've all read different books. So if there's books out there that like, because there's also, we're all at different stages. And I do think that we're all kind of together in the same range. So if there's books that like you feel added value to you, like throw them out to us or me and we'll put them on there. Because I'm always down to just kind of expand the reading material. Yeah, definitely want to start with the layup. What's that?
Art of the Deal, bro.
Art of the Deal.
Yeah.
I live my life by the
Best
Art of
book ever.
War.
It's
I
a perfect
love that book.
Perfect
All right.
book.
Well, that said, so this is a very rudimentary, just The Richest Man of Babylon. Has anybody read this before? No. It's super.
I've read it before.
You have read it?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a super fun, like, it's basic little stories, but if you guys have read it or not, I put together some notes, but like I said, the part of the survey, I want to do a survey because I want to see where everyone's at. And once again, I'm not asking like where you're at in terms of finances. I'm just where you're like maybe your literacy or what things you want to look at. Because I don't want to spend a lot of time being like how to save money to allow yourself to have financial freedom. Or maybe it's something where people are looking at that next step, right? Like I know I'm going to my 30s. My goals are different than somebody in their 20s that are different here. And my goals for finances might be different than a business owner. Even though I am one, it's like I want to be able to not have to go back to work and do a 9 to 5. So my goals are much different than somebody else. So I just kind of want to see, because I don't want to like steer us in a different direction and then everyone's kind of like, oh, this is easy. And then obviously I want to, like I said before, I know we have a lot of guys in here who have financial background, like whether that's formally or just an experience and maybe have different routes. So I'd love to hear back from you guys because I do feel like finances is something that can weigh a lot of stress, whether we know it or not, on our personal life, on our business. It can strap us to where we can't make decisions or we can't act on certain things like different jobs. Like that's obviously something. So if money wasn't an issue, John, I'm sure you would want to just be a straight coach. Right. So
absolutely.
So it's like, obviously money is something that we should at least try and look at. It's a means to allow opportunity, but so I'm going to put that survey in here and I'll post it again, but so I kind of made this, I'm not sure how far you guys are in it. So I kind of put a cliff note, but this is like basic stuff that we can look at and I want to just kind of dive into it because so are you guys at this part right here where he talks about the cures of the lean purse?
No,
I literally have not. I have not started. I do my readings on weekends.
Okay.
For the most part.
I read the first 2 pages.
Okay. Yeah. So it's
is it short?
Yeah, it's short.
It's like 90 pages.
And a lot of this.
I'll read it this weekend then.
The cliff notes here. For somebody who has experience, it's going to kind of be no brainer. But like we could go into, so my plan is to like start the purse fattening. Basically like he has like something of like try to save 10%, right? And then when you start to build that, if anybody's familiar with like Rich Dad Poor Dad, Total Money Makeover, like how do you get that snowball going? And then looking at I'm not sure if you guys have budgets, whether it's a business, like I apply this stuff to my business now, or if it's personal, and this is stuff I want to collect in the survey just so I'm not going to be redundant on things because I don't want to assume anything. And then I
just put everything in Bitcoin, man.
Yeah. But that's for some, that's very lucrative. So, and that's something where it's like, I want to be able to talk. Like, I know my brother is big into real estate. I don't have real estate, but I'm definitely in other things. We got like eCoin. Like, I think there's a bunch of different cool perspectives in here for people that you can make your money work for you. And even like as a business, right? Like, Andre, we were talking last time how you have the money sitting in the business, and it's like at some point it's sitting in the bank is doing nothing for you. Right. So it's like, what do you do with that? Do you reinvest back into it? Do you, expand your business or maybe get into other things that make money to help fuel your business? So I'm not sure where people are at with this. And that's what I want to just get that survey to kind of figure out where we can take the next 3 months. So just kind of be on the lookout for that.
Cool.
But basically, like in the book, he goes through 7 cures for a lean purse. It's basically told through stories. People have lost their wealth or started from nothing, and the perspectives. And I guess I'll let you guys read through this later because I don't want to like spoil anything, but it's a quick read. And then, so I didn't want to spend too much time on that because I really want to use the survey to direct what we're going to do. But I mean, my plan is that I'd like to, and once again, I'm not sure where everyone's at. I'd like to have everyone do some sort of like a statement, maybe like whether it's like a household profit loss or a business profit loss, whatever you want to apply it to. And if you're already doing this, then great. Then maybe, if you have, let me know because you can weigh in because I know there's guys that aren't doing this that need help with it. And then looking at, okay, how can we, like if you do, like I do net worth statements every month just to kind of keep track of things. So this is really just, if you have any expertise that you want to win, or if you're unsure of things, it's going to be in the survey. That way I can figure out where we want to take this. Cool.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Cool.
All right. So I guess just the questions, which is kind of the start of it. When looking at personal finance journey, what aspects do you find the most interesting? And then what do you find the most challenging? I guess I'll start because it's kind of so for me, I find the most interesting is how can I continue to make, and how can I make more passive income, right? Whether that's through my business or whether that's through returns on investments, right? And for me, and this is kind of touching into like the fourth part, or no, the third part, the motivation is like, obviously we have the retirement. And if I look at like the buckets, we have like our short-term bucket, which is like 1 to 3 months. We have our 50 plus bucket. I'm really trying to focus in on the bucket of like when I have kids, like, can I provide for them if my wife, she gets leave, but in America we get shitty leave, right? What happens if, she loses her job in 5 years and now we have kids? Like, I want to be prepared for that range of my life. So that's where I'm at right now. So I find that interesting, but I also find it challenging to figure out how can I create earnings and wealth in the next 10 years to prepare for life. So that's me.
Cool. I'll go next. Jay, do you want to go?
No, go.
Okay, cool. I guess for me, my big thing, kind of like what Mike talked about earlier, is my business partner and I, our goal is to always keep a set amount in our business account, and then once after another year or so, once we have a fair amount of money sitting in the bank, we wanted to start buying stuff. We just want to start buying real estate. We have thought about the idea of opening up other stuff or doing more CrossFit gyms or other gyms, but honestly, that's not worth the headache. And so we just want to do what works. I mean, if you own real estate, you have the ability to create wealth for generations and to have sustainable income. So that's interesting to me. So one thing that I want to do over the next year or so, I want to get my real estate license. My business partner already has his. And just once we have some extra cash in the bank, just start to buy some stuff. I think the first property that we buy as a business will probably be the house that like my wife and I live in up here, and then just kind of start to grow from there. So that's what I find both interesting and challenging, I guess, because I don't really know too much about it aside from the theoretical side and what I watch when I'm on HGTV with my wife.
You should My brother would be somebody good. He has like 3 units. So he has a
Yeah.
duplex and a house that he rents out. I mean, listen, he's not a mogul, but it allowed him
Sure.
to have something where he can kind of work from home.
Yeah.
But he would start – he's not real estate background, so I'm sure
Yeah,
he could
I'll reach out.
get you in the right direction.
Yeah, we just want to start simple. I mean, pretty much like the apartment that we live in now. We got in like right after our landlord closed, and it was not a super nice apartment, but we just redid everything. We painted everything, put in new light fixtures, put in like wall mounted a bunch of stuff. We put a fireplace in, we put mantles, we did all the sinks, did all the kitchens, cabinets, and all that stuff. So we definitely want to find something that is, you know, kind of a fixer-upper type of thing. Nothing that's like really structurally fucked up, but buy something that is not super pretty and do stuff that we know how to do, add some value to it, and just live there and then expand.
Well, I can tell you from experience, buying a house is fucking stressful.
Yeah, yeah.
It is
No
super.
shit.
Like
No shit.
we got it's a nice house. It was definitely already flipped, and I was like, listen, I'm trying to build a business. I don't want to have to deal with this shit. But
Yeah.
we're looking at appreciation from the area that we're in. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'll go next, I guess. I mean, I'm kind of like Mike, where looking for passive income. I know the way that I operate productively is when I have the ability to set my own schedule, and the ability to do basically what I want to do versus what I have to do. Um, and so obviously the more passive income I have, the more freedom I have to be able to do that. I'm interested in reading this book now, but for me, I've made smaller investments and bigger investments over the last 30 years. I'm bad at gambling or taking risks. So like the risk things I've taken have fortunately sort of paid off, but it's been small return relative because it was a small amount that went in. Now, honestly, like Bitcoin, and that being said, it's not an insignificant amount of money. I put in, just a couple $1,000, and I don't check it all the time. I'm not sure exactly what it's trading at, but I think I'm probably up at least 20,000 in that. And then I have sort of like that retirement bucket, like you talked about. I'm always trying to think long term and hesitant to spend in the short term, but sometimes I think I'd be better off taking bigger risks, knowing that if I can get myself involved in whatever it is, I have a little bit of skin in the game, potentially more of a safety net. And then I've also looked at buying a house. We've looked into moving. The goal is to move by next August. We actually actively go up and look at houses on weekends when we're free. We even put an offer on a house like 4 months ago. It obviously didn't go through. We didn't think we were going to get it anyway, but we just wanted to, if it was an option, we're going to take it.
Jay, where are you physically looking for a house?
Upstate New York.
Oh, okay, cool. How far?
About an hour and a half from the city.
Okay, cool.
Like up along the Hudson River, just
Cool,
outside
cool.
Westchester.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, so I have those safe plays, like put money in market index funds and that sort of thing, and it does okay, but you're not going to see a big ROI in a short period of term. I wish I had more of an ability to pull the trigger, and I would like to do that on something like the real estate. Like my girlfriend's parents, the way they got a lot of money, not a lot of money, they're not like rich, but the way they went from being middle class to now being more comfortable and being able to then grow their own individual businesses was by taking a risk on some real estate stuff that paid off. I don't know if real estate's the right one. It does seem to be a pretty common one that works out for a lot of people, but yeah, I'm big on if I can get that mailbox money working,
Yeah.
that'd be a win.
well, it sounds like real estate's something important that, or I guess people want to explore. I mean, I will say, like owning your own home, which I think he goes over here in this book in a story, is like step one. Like, I mean, we know how much we paid for rent in there, and it's like, I mean, I can't. 10 years and now my rent was probably $25,000 to $30,000 a year. Like I will never see that again. Right. But it allowed me to, be in the city and do a lot of things. But it's like, if you can own your home, that's like step one. And I know there's different ways, like Andre, they call it like house hacking. Like my brother did this with his first duplex. You could do it he had like I think it was a 2 or 3 unit. He lived in one unit. You have to live in it for a year, but instead of having to put the 20% down on a down payment, you can use an FHA loan because it's technically not a commercial property. So he basically lived in it for a year, and then his other 2 tenants paid down the mortgage, and he also netted like $200 or $300 a month. So then he lived in it, and while he was in there, he was doing things to appreciate the value, and then he moved out, and now he, has that generating income and it's paying down. So in 20 years or whatever, he has all the money he made from rent, and it's a paid off house that he only put down whatever 4%. There's different, or there's different things where you could do a single family and you could live in it, and it could be like a fixer upper, and you live in it while you're fixing it up, and then you basically move out and either rent it or sell it. There's different things that you could do. Like we were going to do that, but my wife nixed that idea. So she didn't want to live in a duplex to other people. So
I hear that. I don't think I would either. I mean, honestly, for us.
Well, I mean, you do now.
What do you mean? Live in a duplex? Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So it'd just be another year.
Oh, no, but I'm saying, like, I think what we buy, we would want it just to be like our shit.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah. So, all right. What about you, John?
All right. So as far as a personal finance goes, I know very little. Like, I know the basics. You want to spend less than you make and all of that. But outside of that, I know nothing. You guys are all talking about buying houses and real estate. That's awesome. I'd love to eventually get there. But I know right now my main focus is trying to get my spending habits and income and budgets and finances in order so I can start building up that fund to where I could put a down payment on something going forward. So I'm kind of in that stage of trying to build a foundation for a successful future. Yeah. So very, very basic.
No, that's good. I mean, you're in a good group for that and I think it's important too. Like, we sound like we're like 2 steps ahead, and maybe we are, but I'll be the first person to say, like, when I moved back to Ohio, I had to basically go back to all my basics and like recheck my books, recheck everything, check the spending, do all of that. So I think it's a valuable skill no matter who you are, because at the end of the day, it all comes down to balancing your books, like whether it's a business, whatever you are. There's just tricks you learn along the way. So, and you're also
John, I don't have any money,
how old are you, John? 28, 27?
I am 28.
28, yeah. So you're a little younger than us. Cool.
Yeah, John, like, don't be discouraged. I don't have any money. Like, all my money is literally in my gym. Like, living in the New York area and having a business, I have zero free money right now. So I also, in my pursuit of buying a home, need to get back to basics and just start saving basic stuff right now. We're now in a position where we can start to save money, because the last 2 years has pretty much just been all extra. Anything that I had went into the business. So I don't think I'm ahead by any means. Obviously, having a business is starting to turn into, generating more income on a monthly basis, but I still do not have extra shillings in my bank account just yet.
Yeah, I don't know that any of us would say we have liquid assets, but
yeah. So, all right. And I mean, number 2 here, like, I think and this is something we don't need to like answer, but I just think it's important to, and I kind of alluded to it with myself and kind of we all did in terms of why we have the motivation going forward. Like, obviously having money is like money isn't everything, but it is something, and it allows you to do things, whether that's take a pay cut to move closer to home, whether that's provide your family with something, 10 years down the road or 5 years down the road or whatever. So I think it's just important. This is something maybe you just, if you already know the answer to yourself, great, but just look at the motivation. It's no different than when you tell a client, like, what's their motivation to lose weight? Like, you got to kind of, it's going to make doing the small tedious shit a lot easier when you see the bigger picture. So just, I would just make sure you're aware of that. And then I want to kind of just put us in, like, has there been a time where you felt your financial situation, if it was different, you would be able to pursue a different opportunity? Maybe you could have got yourself out of a situation where you look back and you're like, man, if I had my shit in order, because, trying to find that pain point. And I'll say for me, I worked at a gym for like 6 years. And for the past 3 years before I quit, I was super unhappy, like working like a dog, not making money, but I needed the money because I had like $90,000 in student loan. I was not budgeting. I was making money, but spending everything. The more money I made, the more I spent, until I finally figured out my shit. And then I realized I could have just saved myself 2 years of not being happy with work if I would have just got my shit together earlier. So that was kind of like a time in my life where I was like, hey, if I can learn anything, it's to recognize this and not do that again. So I think it's important to look back on that shit. So I just wanted to see if there's anything you guys have.
I think for me, luckily, I think I've always been very good with finances. So when I was working in finance and making good money, I was able to save a bunch of money, and that allowed me the safety net to then quit and take a $50,000 pay cut. And then ever since then, I did go through my savings, but it was enough to get me far enough along to then where able to start making a little more money. I'm not the type of person where when I start making more money, I start spending more money. My spending habits are pretty consistent regardless of level of pay, which has always been a good positive for me, because for me, there's sort of a hierarchy of what's important to me that doesn't change regardless. The only thing that I'll spend money on is living in New York long enough. Once I got closer to 30, I was like, I'm not gonna save a couple $100 a month to live in a piece of shit apartment. So I will spend a little more on rent, knowing that I don't have a ton of outside costs. But my hierarchy is just living somewhere that you're comfortable. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. And then for me, it's really food, and then freedom on weekends to go out and have a meal or go out for drinks and not have to worry about it. And that's really it. I don't really spend a ton of money outside of the gym in any other aspect. It helps that all my clothes are free.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm similar to Jay. I mean, I came from I worked in finance. I was not good about saving money though. I literally, when I lived in Pittsburgh, I spent as much on alcohol and going out as I did on my rent on any given month. So I didn't save any fucking money when I worked in corporate banking. But when I quit in 2010, I knew that my cost structure of what I actually needed on any given month was relatively low, right? Living in Pittsburgh, rent wasn't super high. I owned my car at that point outright. And I didn't really have, my biggest expenditure was just rent. And then on the other side was alcohol. So I pretty much, when I stopped working in banking, I stopped drinking as much. So I honestly, I think it just comes down to, like Jay said, finding a cost structure that works for you. And at a certain point, if you see an opportunity, you kind of just have to, it's a gut check, I left a very high paying job and I had no backup plan at all. I just quit. I just knew that I was fucking unhappy and I didn't want to do it anymore. And I knew that I could survive and find something to do to cover my bills. And so I quit, started bartending, and then, the rest is kind of history down the line. But I think if you can manage your costs on any given month, that's the key to really any success, whatever you might be doing.
Yeah, so Mike, I really identified with what you were just talking about with New York, and the more you make, the more you spend, all that. That's kind of the shit I'm going through right now. Um, identifying the bad spending habits I have, because back to the original question, if finances weren't an issue, you said earlier, I wouldn't be, as much as I enjoy engineering. I know I spent a lot of money on an engineering degree. I wouldn't be engineering from 7 to 5 every day. I'd be at the gym, coaching, training, all of that instead. So, yeah, I mean, everything you guys have said has made a lot of sense so far, and that's the shit I'm going through and trying to figure out right now.
Well, no, thanks for sharing that. And I mean, both the other guys in this room obviously are awesome coaches and stuff, but they started not in this industry. So they're always good resources to kind of pick their brain. But yeah, I mean, I think so. When I kind of obviously it's cool to talk about this, then we look at like what's the next step. And I like for me, number 4, contribution. Obviously, we think of like how do we contribute, and most of the people think about income or money. But I mean, I'll be frank. Like when I moved here, I took a huge pay cut, and now I have a sugar mama, which is beautiful. But I have to figure out a way to contribute, and the more she's obviously doing well, but my way to contribute is to make sure that we're allocating the money that she is making and that even I'm bringing in to make sure that it's not just disappearing. So for me, really sitting down and doing these profit loss statements, these, balancing the checkbooks, really doing the basics is important. And that's how I'm contributing to the family. And that's how I'm able to then start doing the next step, which is we talked about trying to get passive income, have a couple $100s a month and investing here and there. But it all kinds of starts with looking at where you're at, what you're bringing in and what's leaving. So, I think there's value in maybe all of us sitting down, because whether you're at the stage of trying to invest in real estate, you got to know how much you could invest in real estate. You got to understand, or it's John, you're trying to, like, as Jay said, he was able to build up his savings to allow himself to quit his job. Then he kind of lived off that until he kind of came up. Like, I think that might be something you want to try and shoot for. So, I mean, you guys think that's a good step? The next step would be at least to kind of see where we're at, like everyone. And once again, I don't want to see numbers. It's something for you guys to do.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Cool.
I do.
All right.
But also, I hate to interrupt, but I gotta run. I got a 12.
Yeah. That's it, man. This is
All right. Perfect.
Cool, man. Thanks, Jay. Guys, I'll put that survey in there, and if you have any questions, let me know. Connect with each other. We've had enough here that you guys can connect, and if you have questions, don't be afraid to reach out to each other.
For sure.
All right, guys.
Sounds
thanks.
good.
And I'll post all that stuff in there. I'll get that template for that stuff, the profit loss, and I'll maybe make like a video of how it works.
Cool.
That'd be awesome.
Feel free to share it with your bros, John.
I will do that.
All right.
Cool.
Guys, I'll see you.
Guys.
All right.
Peace.
Later.
See you guys.